What's cracking? Welcome to the kitchen. Today's video is going to be how to make pumpkin bars. Pumpkin bars is a family favorite, and tonight I'm making them because I made a deal with one of my school orchestras. If they accomplished a certain goal, we could have 20 minutes of free time in class, and I would bring them a homemade treat, or we could play a music-related game. I suggested we do some pumpkin bars as the treat, and they said, what are pumpkin bars? Which you might be wondering yourself, because it doesn't seem like it's a real regular thing. I describe pumpkin bars as basically like a carrot cake as far as I can tell. It looks like a carrot cake, except instead of carrot, it's pumpkin. Now, I've never really made carrot cake, and so I'm not sure how similar the recipes are, but yeah, they're both orange in color. It's a cake, and it has icing. So with that, the first thing that you need to know is that this recipe calls for a 15 by 10 inch baking pan, or casserole dish is a better way to say it. And it makes there's a lot of batter here. So your regular 9 by 13 will make a pretty thick cake. I think it would do it, but it would be pretty thick. Now, I had a big pan the last time I made these. After they were gone, getting ready to wash it, the pan had an accident, dropped off the counter, and broke. So I haven't replaced it. I am today going to solve that problem by using two dishes. So I've got a regular traditional 9 by 13 and then a smaller one here. And this one is it's an 8 by 8. It's a 2-quart. Your 9 by 13 is typically 3 or 3.2, some such. So between those two, I should get a similar effect to doing just one big pan. A little bit more of a hassle, but that's okay. That's what I have to work with. All right, here's what you need for ingredients, and I will list them right here, but let me read them off. For the batter for the cake, we need 4 eggs, 1 2/3 cups granulated sugar, 1 cup cooking oil, 1 16-ounce can of pumpkin, 2 cups all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 2 teaspoons cinnamon, ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon baking soda. That makes the cake. So, and then we'll talk about the cream cheese frosting a little bit later. Most of those ingredients are pretty self-explanatory. The pumpkin that I'm using is just this right here. 100% pure pumpkin. I'm thinking this is what you use for pumpkin pie. That's yet another thing that I've never really made. But, I mean, that's the picture that's on the can. So, and this is a small can. They do make big cans. But this is a small one. It calls for a 16-ounce can. This one's 15. 15 will work. All right, here's your directions. In mixer bowl, beat together the eggs, sugar, oil, and pumpkin until light and fluffy. Then you add pretty much all the other ingredients. Stir flour, baking powder, cinnamon, salt, and soda. Add it to the pumpkin mixture and mix thoroughly. Spread batter in ungreased pan, or pans in my case. Bake at 350 for 25 to 30 minutes. Let it cool, and then put the cream cheese frosting on. All right. So I'm going to break out the mixer and start getting things put together. I'll bring you back in along the way. 4 eggs, 1 2/3 cup regular sugar. Let's talk about the oil for a moment. It calls for 1 cup, which is a lot of cooking oil. Most people are probably going to use vegetable oil or canola oil, which is probably fine. I am of the opinion that that oil is not really healthy for consumption. So I'm looking for either a coconut oil or an olive oil, but you don't want just a regular olive oil. For this, you would want something more of like a salad variety or something that is light in flavor and taste. So for that, I think I'm gonna go with this one, which says, you know, light taste down here, extra light even. You could also use an avocado oil. That's just kind of pricey. Actually, we just got this. It's unopened, pure avocado oil. And I think I might use this just because there's a lot more here and save the olive oil for some other recipes. So I'm going to go with the avocado today. Oil added. And finally, the pumpkin. This is the first batch of ingredients to mix. I think before I do that, I'm going to prepare the dry ingredients in a separate container so that when this is mixed, I can just add that in. This is probably also the appropriate time to turn the oven on to preheat. 350. The dry goods start with 2 cups of flour. I don't know if you can see the difference in color, but right there, 2 teaspoons of baking powder have been added. You can definitely see the 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. 1 teaspoon salt. I like to use kosher salt for my baking, but regular salt would work fine. And finally, 1 teaspoon baking soda. And now you're supposed to stir this all together and then add it to the batter. Bell on the oven just dinged, so it is up to temperature. It is ready. Few stirs with the whisk, and this is all blended, so the dry goods are ready. That means it is time to mix the wet goods until light and fluffy. Just to make sure we don't get a mess, I'm going to put the lid on, and let's start with just some pulsing. Not terribly messy. I'm going to turn this on, just the low setting, and let this beat for a minute. I don't think I would describe this as light and fluffy. It's really, in my opinion, more kind of soupy, like a cream soup maybe. But it's not going to get any better. It's mixed as well as it's going to get. So let's add some dry goods to it. Grab the bowl and do about 1/3 to half. Ooh, that was almost a disaster. Here we go. Yeah, that's at least half. Okay, do a little mixing with that. This is where it can get dicey. You turn this on too strong and you'll end up with more dust outside than inside. So a little mixing, nice and easy, get some mix. In there. Let's go ahead and add the rest. That went quite well. And I will scrape down the sides at least once before calling it good. Okay, that's everything. Get the lid back on. Everything's pretty well mixed. Now we've got a pretty good looking batter going. You need to do one scrape down of the sides at least. Rubber spatula works great for this. I'm getting a really good consistent batter here, and you probably can't see this unless I time-lapsed it, but the batter is slowly sinking down the bowl, so it is definitely on the wet side, but that is how it's supposed to be. So do one more mix and then distribute it in the pans. So I will do this mix and then pour it in the pans and bring you back in at that point. All right, so I want you to see kind of what the consistency is. So it pours out. It's definitely on the wetter side, and that is normal. And I'm gonna first fill up the 9 by 13. Remember the instructions said non-greased. I think that's because of that 1 cup of oil that this batter is not going to stick to a lot of stuff. So let's see here. Get that smoothed out. I think I'm gonna go a little bit thicker on this one. Okay. Now let's do the small one and see how close we are to matching the thickness of the batter. I think we're pretty close here. Again, this doesn't have to be exact because it's going to 2 different end places. I think we're about there. A little more on this underside. Get 1 more scoop. Okay. All right, we've done pretty well here. Yep, I'm gonna call that a good enough distribution. So this does rise a surprising amount. So you're probably looking at this thinking you could totally fit that in a 9 by 13. And yes, you could, but this is gonna rise quite a bit. So with that, the oven is ready. That batter, yep, that is a winner right there. So we'll put these in, and as I said at the beginning, we're gonna bake this for 25 to 30 minutes. So we'll set the timer for 25 and then check it, see how it's doing, do the toothpick test. Turn that way, kind of get these on the same level. That'll work. All right, we'll bring you back when it's time for the toothpick test. The timer just went off. It's been I started it a minute or 2 after it started cooking, and then I had my hands full, so I couldn't check right away. So it's been another 2 or 3 minutes. So it's been right about 30 minutes. Let's turn on the oven light, grab a toothpick, and do the regular check. Clean toothpick, oven light on. Yeah, so look at how much that one has risen. That one didn't rise as much, but that's okay. Let's check it here. That looks like it's coming out clean to me. Let's check the big one. It's a lot deeper. I'm gonna call that done. That toothpick is coming out totally clean. Yep, okay. There they are out of the oven. Looking very uniform and consistent. Edges are great. Those are very edible edges. Now, this will sink as it cools, particularly here in the middle where it's kind of bubbled up a little bit. And ultimately, I expect it to be about the same height as it is up the side. So it'll drop down probably about 1/2 inch. So could you fit all of this in a 9x13? Absolutely you could. It really comes down to how you like your cake thickness to icing ratio. And you may have to experiment with that. Maybe you like a thicker cake, or you can double up the icing to compensate or something like that. So it's totally doable in a 9x13. I just opted to spread it out this particular time. Speaking of the icing, I have made the executive decision to wait and make the icing in the morning because there's a couple of reasons. The instructions say to let the cake cool before you put the icing on. So that's number one. It's going to be a while before these are sufficiently cool. Number two, I didn't have butter set out, and the butter and the cream cheese both need to be softened or basically room temperature. And I wasn't able to get the cream cheese. I had to go to the store to get it, and so I got it right out of their cooler. And it's also still cool. So I need to let the butter and the cream cheese both soften, and overnight's going to be a good amount of time for that. So with that, we are done for the moment. Good morning. It is time to do the frosting, cream cheese frosting, which is a delightful addition to just about any baked good. I do have a dilemma though. There's some discrepancy on the recipe for the frosting. Now, my mom, even in her old age with some memory issues, does remember that the frosting recipe needs to be doubled for this application for the pumpkin bars. So the problem is I've got some information. Recipe just dropped on the floor. It's not all jiving together. So let me tell you what I'm facing. On the original recipe, it says I need 1 3-ounce package of cream cheese, and then 1/2 cup of butter, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 cups of sifted powdered sugar. So except for the 3-ounce package of cream cheese, the rest of that's a fairly normal frosting recipe. But I went ahead and looked up the other ones because your normal cream cheese brick is an 8-ounce. I'm thinking that the 3 is supposed to be an 8. But what I found she has just a cream cheese frosting recipe written on another card, and that one does say an 8-ounce package, but then says to use 4 cups of powdered sugar. And yet, looking it up on the internet, all I can find is 8-ounce. Everything is the same except to use a different amount of powdered sugar. And that recipe said, the author of that article that one was in said, if you want a stiffer icing, then you add more powdered sugar. It makes it stiffer. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with the original, but I'm going to assume that the 3-ounce package of cream cheese is actually intended to be an 8-ounce package. And so I will mix up a double batch according to this, and I'll do a taste test. If it's not sweet enough or it's too runny, Then I will add either some cornstarch or some powdered sugar to get the consistency right. So with that, let's dive in. Let me grab the mixing bowl. This one I'm going to do with an electric beater. I'm not going to use the stand mixer. And my butter and cream cheese is soft and ready to go. So hopefully this will go pretty quickly. 2 bricks softened cream cheese. 2 cubes softened butter. 2 teaspoons vanilla. 4 cups powdered sugar. I hope that is all it's going to take, because otherwise it's a lot of sugar. Got the mixer out. I'm gonna start by just kind of mashing some of the goods together before I turn it on. And I kind of need 2 hands for this, so I'm gonna have to set you down, but this is my starting process. That's 1 chunk. There's another one. Yeah, right there. Got it. Okay. So I'm going to set you down so that I can hold the bowl with my other hand and speed up this process. There is no way that this recipe would handle double the sugar. So this has to be the right ratio for essentially a double batch. I'm thinking that, like I said, the 3-ounce package, I'm pretty sure is a typo and is supposed to be an 8-ounce package. And everything else is pretty consistent. Ultimately, of course, it is a taste test. And one of the traditions in my family is for the kids to lick the beater when it is done. So let's use this for the taste test. That's spot on. That's right where it needs to be. Any more sugar, it's going to be too sweet. And let me show you. That thickness and texture, consistency, however you want to think about it, is all exactly what it should be. Can you have too much frosting? I find that on a typical store-bought birthday cake, that frosting, especially around the edges where they decorate it, is often too thick for my liking. And the problem is it's just so sweet that it practically puts you in a sugar coma. But this cream cheese frosting, it's hard to get too much. So here's the end result, kind of for both of them. So I did lay it on fairly thick. That's a pretty good layer of frosting. And I've got some left over, that much left over. But I think it is adequate, and this is going to be delicious. So I'll go ahead and use what's left of this on a bagel for my breakfast, and we'll get headed off to school. Now, I wish I could show you the kids' reaction to eating this, but both YouTube frowns on putting little ones on camera, and these are like 7th and 8th graders, so they're not terribly little, but they are underage. And I don't think my school would be very happy about me doing that either, just for safety reasons. So I'm not going to bother filming that. You will just have to take my word for it. But after we are done, I will give you a report of how they were received. It is evening, and this is my first opportunity to give you the outcome, and it is all good. Let me show you. Here's the pan, and everything is gone. So I got to school, and we pulled it out right at the first of class, cut them up, and started dishing them out. And the class went quiet as they were eating, and the silence was broken by one of my 8th graders, who, in a solemn tone, said, "I am having a spiritual experience." It was hysterical, and my assistant said that is a real compliment to the chef. and I am very flattered. I haven't had anyone respond to my cooking that way, so it was apparently very good. I told them I didn't want them to get a sugar high and later go into a sugar coma, but if they wanted more, there was plenty for them to have more, and the whole class came back for seconds. So some of them did a half piece, some of them did a whole second piece. So they loved it. And then they ate about 2/3 to 3/4 of the dish. And I took what was left to my second job, and they all finished them up. While at my second job, I had a discussion with the owner's wife about the frosting, the cream cheese frosting. And she wrote down her recipe for cream cheese frosting, which is close to the one I used, but a couple of differences. And I think next time I make this, I will give this one a try. So she uses an 8-ounce block of cream cheese and a cube of butter. So that ratio, 1 block of cream cheese to 1 cube of butter, is pretty standard. And then she does, one of the things that's different about her recipe is she does half the sugar. So instead of 2 cups of sugar, she does 1 cup. And then the teaspoon of vanilla is the same. And then she also adds 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. And that is a very interesting idea. My wife thinks that would be good, but maybe not with pumpkin bars, that the pumpkin and the lemon may not complement each other, but we'll try it and see next time. The other thing that she said about making cream cheese frosting is that how you make it, the sequence, the order is important. So she walked me through that you, of course, with softened cream cheese and the butter, you mix it, just those two together for about 5 minutes. Then slowly add the 1 cup of powdered sugar. And she said sifting the sugar is essential to get the proper texture to the frosting. And that is listed on several of the other recipes I looked at. I didn't do it for teenagers, but sifting the powdered sugar is protocol. When you get the powdered sugar in, you mix it in slowly, and once it's all in, mix it for about 2 minutes, and then add the teaspoon of vanilla and lemon juice and mix for about another 30 seconds and just integrate that in. And that's how she does hers. So half the sugar, I think, would be a good move. This frosting is very rich. It's delicious. Nobody's complaining about it, but yeah, a little bit more of the cream cheese flavor and less of the sugar flavor, I think would be very acceptable. So with that, try the recipe out and put it down in the comments what you thought about it. Is it going to become a staple in your family treats? Or did it not hit the mark? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next one.